Alright, hey, how's it going? So, figured I would show off my Berserker that I have uploaded a few videos on with some boss kills and whatnot. If I didn't upload my Shaper kill, it should be shortly. I think the Uber Elder kill is up already, which was kind of sketchy, but still pretty fast, and my first kill nonetheless. So figured I'd show off my character a bit. I'll do a quick map run. It's just a T15 plateau. Random rolled it. And then I will get into discussing the character. Alright, that's the most of the map, so I think that's fine. I'm gonna go grab some of this loot real quick. Really worried about Alva right now. Mostly just want splinters. But yeah, so I decided to make a Berserker, and I wanted to play... This is my League Start character, so I left it open to pretty much be able to play whatever. Like whatever skill I wanted. I was initially going to start Flicker Strike, but Flicker Strike had some issues, and I wasn't 100% sold on the chance on hit that Flicker got inbuilt to get frenzy charges, so I switched over to Reave. Reave is one of my other favorite melee skills, and with some of the changes and with all the attack speed that Berserker gets, you can run Reave without multi-strike now. At least that's what I'm doing right now, and it feels really good. Here's some of my stats. 100% hit chance. I'm running 53% crit, basically 500% crit multi. There we go, there's Reave. 134k tooltip with none of my buffs. I am running blitz charges, so my crit does go down while I'm fighting stuff, but my attack speed goes up significantly. Realistically, Aspect of Carnage is more actual damage, but then we get the downside of taking a lot more damage too, whereas I have enough crit scaling with a Diamond Flask that it feels just fine this way. So, I'll go over my gear a bit, and then I'll talk about the skill tree some more. Flasks up first. I got a Sin's Rebirth, Taste of Hate, Diamond Flask, Lion's Roar. Diamond Flask being the most important. This gives you the most damage next to Lion's Roar. Lion's Roar was pretty expensive. I got mine for an X, but they're down to like 45C now, I think. So, but yeah, these are all really solid flasks for this. And then just a life flask. My weapon is a 400 DPS one-hander that I found, and then I was able to Leo Exalt that tier 8 hybrid on it actually last night, so that bumped it up about 20-ish DPS, which isn't much, but any solid Fizz DPS sword will be just fine. Same thing with my offhand. I also found this one. I'm in mostly solo self-found gear with some slight additions. Helmet, I bought a 40% Reave damage base, and then threw a couple fossils at it, and got this, which is great because I needed some int. So, amulet that I found, just life, a little bit of accuracy. We don't really need that much accuracy because we get plenty in the tree, but just a little bit to make sure we're at 100%. And then some flat damage when possible. Ideally, I want crit multi on here, but it's just what I got for now. You can notice the -7 mana cost is pretty big because Reave only costs 7 mana for me now. I'll get to that more in a few, but -7 mana cost on this ring as well. Again, a little bit of accuracy, some crit, life, res, minus mana cost. This ring's really not that good. It's actually quite bad, but it works. And then I got an Assassin's Mark on hit ring. This is just for power charge generation. This ring is really quite bad otherwise as well. So looking for life and Assassin's Mark are the main two things, and then whatever else I can get. There's pretty much 2 or 3 dead stats in this ring, to be honest. The strength is whatever. Mana regen is not really all that useful, considering we reserve almost all of our mana anyway. And mana gain for each enemy hit by spells. We don't have any spells, so useless. But yeah. 6-link chest. I bought this for like 30C, I want to say, as a base, and threw some fossils at it and got this. It's pretty good. Honestly, it's a pretty good chest, but they're really simple to craft something similar for not very much money or currency, so highly suggest doing that. You don't need the best base imaginable. I have a Elder eye level 86 base that I'm also holding on to craft. If I can remember where I put it. But I thought I threw it in here. I don't know. But anyway. So yeah, just a 6-link with lots of life, ideally. Anyway, gloves. I just got a pair of spike gloves base and threw some essences and fossils at it until I got something I was happy with. More accuracy. I'm actually a little overkill in accuracy, I think. It's good for evasive enemies though. I'm at 96% hit on evasive. About 100% hit on everything else. But I was mainly looking for life, attack speed, a little bit of leech if I could find it, a little bit of accuracy if I could find it, so these are pretty solid. Belt, just life resists. That's pretty much all I'm looking for on here. Boots, these boots are actually really good that I also found. Life and tri-res with just a shit ton of res. So pretty much anything you can get to get res capped across all this stuff. Besides that, not very good at gear, to be honest. It's all quite mediocre. Except my sword. My sword is really good. But again, I was using something very similar before this. It was only like 50 DPS lower, which is pretty obtainably cheap. So, anyway, so as for the skill gem setup, I'll go through that. I have Leap Slam with Endurance Charge on melee stun. This is how I generate my Endurance Charges. If you don't know, whenever you Leap Slam now, it's guaranteed stun on enemies, as long as they don't have that map mod that makes them immune to stun. Which means if you only get Endurance Charge on melee stun, you guarantee yourself an Endurance Charge every time you Leap Slam on a mob. So that's really good. Then I just have Pride in here for my aura. In my helmet I have Blood and Sand for the AoE. And then I very rarely swap anymore. I used to swap a lot more, but Sand Stance if you want to be safe. I used to play in Sand Stance all the time until I got enough damage. But Sand Stance all the time because of Flesh and Stone, which I'll get to in a second. But this gives you more area of effect and less damage. So it's really good for clearing. But when you come to fight bosses and shit, you want Blood Stance for sure. A War Chief Totem with Maim on it and multi-totem support. Honestly, this is mostly just for like additional damage on bosses and like tanky mobs. It gives me a damage buff. As you can see, Reave damage went up to 158. So, from like 134 or whatever. Yeah, there we go. Tooltip. But, yeah. Just supporting. In my other weapon, I'm running a Dread Banner because I am stacking Impale. I currently do not have it in my chest piece, but that's just because I'm waiting until I get my my other 6-link taken care of, and then I'm gonna swap out probably Melee Fizz, maybe Pulverize for Impale to max it out, which I'll talk about that again as well in a second. Flesh and Stone. Flesh and Stone is really strong. The blind you get from being in Sand Stance is super good. So if you want survivability, just stay in Sand Stance, honestly. Otherwise, if you want damage, Blood Stance it is. That gives the Maim. My War Chief is also giving Maim just in case, so there's that. Don't necessarily need to be in Blood Stance because we still get it from War Chief, or vice versa. But yeah, one thing you can do is attach Maim to Flesh and Stone and just increase the Maim from Flesh and Stone itself, but then it reduces more mana, which I can't do currently. Ideally, if I get my Reave down to 0 cost, that's what I will do, which I could do with the Ring Enchant, but I'm planning on getting it on my new chest piece, so I didn't want to make all those changes yet. A Blood Rage, just to be able to get frenzies, so it just pops out at the beginning of maps and go, and that's it. In my boots I have Ruthless, Melee Fizz, damage on full life with the Vol Double Strike. This is literally just used for Vol Double Strike for bursting bosses and yellow mobs and stuff like that. Really strong. And then in my gloves I have a max level cast on damage taken with a max level Immortal Call, increased duration, and Berserk. So this is one thing that's I don't think is ideal, but it makes it easy to run as a Berserker, especially because I'm running Rage in my links. So I can pretty much have Berserk up. I'll cap out at 50 Rage until I take a big hit, and then the hit will proc my Immortal Call. So this triggers on 3200 damage, which is about half my life, a little more than half my life. So Immortal Call proc, I'll take 34% less LA and Fizz damage, plus the bonuses for Immortal Call eating my endurance charges that I get from leap slamming around. And then it'll also proc my Berserk, which gives all those bonuses, including the less damage taken, and just crazy damage bonuses. I was often forgetting and just don't have enough buttons to use Berserk regularly myself. Ideally, you would want to use it yourself to be in control of it, but realistically speaking, because of how often I'm generating rage as a Berserker, I could pretty much just do it this way and have Berserk pop fairly often while not impeding my rage gain or my use of rage, really, it feels like. So it's kind of up to you. Like I said, it's not the ideal situation, but for general mapping and just general purpose, I feel like this is a strong way to do it. Otherwise, you want to be popping Berserk on bosses when you really need the damage boost and whatnot. So, and then my Reave is Reave, Fortify, Melee Fizz, Rage, Pulverize, and Ruthless. Fortify is pretty good now that it's got the percent more multiplier. It's close to as good as a Melee Fizz gem, but the additional benefit of giving you Fortify. So it's quite good. Rage I'm enjoying quite a lot because of, like I said, with the Berserk setup. This basically lets me get double the rage generation. It's a little bit less than double the rage generation from being as a Berserker, but I get to 50 stacks really fast with this. Pulverize is just great for a skill like Reave. The less attack speed is really not that noticeable because we're a Berserker, and Ruthless also just really strong on the third hit. But yeah, and then skill tree, we go Create the Slaughter, Reddit Ruin, All of Savagery, Blitz charges. Like I said, Aspect of Carnage is technically more damage, but you have a huge downside in that you take significantly more damage. So yeah, Blitz also feels really good with Reave. And then we go basic Zerker, or basic melee pathing, honestly. Playing crit, so we go up and get all of disemboweling, and then we get dismembering, and all the crit sword nodes as well. There's a couple different ways you can go with damage nodes too. We can take these sword nodes, take these sword nodes, could stretch down here and get these sword nodes, could even get dual wield nodes. There's a lot of options. They give way too many options now for melee. Well, not too many, it's really good, but yeah. If you feel squishy, you can take these life nodes. I had them for a little while and then I spec'd out of them because I felt okay. Same thing with these life nodes right here. Pretty solid. I took these two nodes, Cloth and Chain, simply because of the 20% increased physical damage that I'm getting from my Kurai Jewel, and I needed some resists, so that pretty much covered a lot in just these two nodes. These Kurai Lethal Pride Jewels are really strong. I highly recommend trying out a couple and seeing if you can find a good one that works for you. I happen to get lucky with this one. It's given me an extra 20% melee damage here in Master of the Arena, an extra 4% life from Bravery, 30% melee crit on Dervish, and I think it's 20% armor on Golem's Blood, yeah, and then the 20% fizz on Cloth and Chain, so it's quite strong, just for having this. The only other things that's kind of interesting are the Impale nodes. Most people have figured out that Impale is really good by now. I went this route, the Impale effect, instead of the chance on hit to Impale, because when I'm running Dread Banner, so Dread Banner is 20%, then I'm running these nodes, and then when I socket the gem in, I'll have 100% Impale chance, and I ran that for a while, but when I switched to this chest I decided to try this setup instead, And I definitely noticed the loss in damage with Reave on single target. However, my clear is made up for slightly. So that's the biggest thing with Impale, is you'll have better clear if you run a different gem, or you'll have better single target with Impale. So you kind of have to pick which one you want. Here's my other chest. So this is an eye level 86 Elder base. It's not the best base on a Majestic plate, but it's good enough. So I was running this for a while as a 5-link base, and then I switched to a 6-link because I figured out it'd be more damage. And then this had like 0.5% crit on it or something at first. But basically the idea is going to be to 6-link this, and then fossil craft it into a attacks have crit chance, like 2% crit, and minus mana cost, and socket of gems are supported by Maim. Should be about a 700,000 DPS upgrade, I think, if I remember correctly from Path of Building. So that'll be pretty huge. And as you can see, it's colored up so that I can run Impale. So that's where my Impale is going to be going, back in there, once I finish that. I just haven't gotten around to finishing it yet because I've been working on other characters as well. So yeah. For bandits, I went Alira because I just want the crit multi. Speaking of crit multi, Tempered Flesh is really, really good here if you can get a hold of one of these. These nodes are insane for Tempered Flesh, and theoretically you can drop pathing this way and path these 4 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4 here instead, and then you'll have 2 nodes to put wherever else you want. It'll be a little bit less damage, but much more crit multi, like 15-20% more crit multi, something like that. But you'll lose some like raw damage and a little bit of attack speed, depending on where you put these nodes that you switch. I think that's about it though. We definitely need more buttons, by the way. I don't have enough buttons. Oh, and mana reserve, so that's the other thing too, is I'm trying to get rid of my mana cost on Reave, which right now, like I said, it's at 7 mana cost. I could put minus mana cost on this, but my next chest piece is going to have minus 15 mana cost to socketed skills, hopefully, which means that I can also swap one of these enchants for something better, and my Reave will be free. At which point we can choose to maybe run a precision aura, or like a low-level precision aura, and get a Watcher's Eye for some kind of other jewels slot shenanigans for like crit multi or something like that. Not sure yet. But yeah, there's a lot of room to grow on this character, especially with the chest piece. So I think that's all I've got for now. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.